Live from Yonge and Dundas, welcome to 2 hours of Toronto's news.
News at 5, your top stories. Lighting Olympic fever in Toronto.
Whoa! I've been carrying the torch for Canada all my life.
From medals of honor.
This is a great celebration for our community.
To medals of gold.
To all my peers out there, my 300 meters is for you.
The special team that brought Olympic spirit to our city.
We're going to take as much of the combat out of these conflicts as we can.
Breaking up is no longer hard to do.
We're very pleased about these initiatives.
The changes to family law that will bring an end to bitter divorce battles.
We're going to move them through the system at the speed they need to be moved.
Deadly street shootout. One of Mexico's most wanted drug lords dies in a raging gun battle.
If I can have your boarding pass, please.
Meeting Santa halfway.
I'm a little bit scared because it's my first time on a plane.
It's fantastic to see the kids. That's why we do this.
How a special plane ride brought the spirit of Christmas to a new high.
Merry Christmas.
Good afternoon. The flame has arrived as thousands line the streets.
The Olympic torch is in Toronto, and Francis D'Souza is at City Hall with a big welcoming committee. Francis?
Oh, Dwight, all the people of Toronto are gathering right here at Nathan Phillips Square. This is where the big show is going to be tonight when the flame arrives. Now, on stage right now are some of the rehearsals. The actual entertainment doesn't begin until 5:30. They're just doing sound checks. And just in front of it, you'll see this white podium here. This is where the cauldron, where they're actually, when they bring the flame up, they will light that cauldron and ignite it so everyone in Toronto can see it. Now, we were there this morning as the flame crossed into the city.
26,170 kilometers, and it's here, Toronto, crossing into the city at Yonge and Steeles.
Oh, this is the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see the Olympic flame pass through Toronto. It's unbelievable.
It's amazing, because we can't go to Vancouver, but this is as close as we're going to get to the Olympics.
Toronto gets 2 days with the Olympic flame. It'll travel 48 kilometers through our neighborhoods, igniting spirit everywhere it goes.
Go, Canada, go! I think it gets the kids more involved, even if they aren't athletes. It still makes them get excited about it all.
And look how excited they are. The torch was then brought here to the Scarborough Civic Center to the cheering crowd full of Olympic spirit, and it was carried in by a Scarborough High School teacher.
I'm excited to see someone from our school holding the torch.
It's really cool. We're really proud of it.
Students from all over Scarborough came to share in this historic moment, and they all had their own thoughts on what the Olympic flame represents.
I think it represents victory, the flame of the sun.
I think it means like the pride of country and stuff, like the independence and hope.
Our multiculturalism, our ethnicity, it's what we believe in, and, you know, burn strong Canadian pride.
Now, the entertainment down here in Nathan Phillips Square gets underway in just about a half hour's time. We'll be here throughout the next 2 hours to actually bring you highlights throughout the show. And at 5:30, we'll run you down who's going to be performing. That's it live from Nathan Phillips Square. I'm Francis D'Souza. Back to the newsroom.
All right, Francis. Earlier today, the torch made its way through other parts of the GTA, cheered on by crowds of onlookers, including in Markham.
It's an amazing feeling, an amazing atmosphere. It makes me proud to be living in Canada now.
We're Canada's most ethnically diverse community. So to welcome the Olympic torch that represents truly every corner, every nation around the world, this is a great celebration for our community.
A massive crowd turned out to watch torchbearer Cody Hodgson light the cauldron at Markham City Hall, setting off a community celebration. Hodgson was on last year's Canadian World Junior Hockey team and is a member of the Vancouver Canucks.
Plenty cold out here for all of those waiting to watch the torch today. Meteorologist Adam Stiles is live in the square with a quick look at your forecast. Adam.
Marilla, it is chilly out here. We're sitting down in the square waiting for the torch to come by. I think 6:45 as it comes down Yonge Street right in front, takes a turn at Queen, heads down toward Nathan Phillips Square. But if you're going out to enjoy the festivities, bring the the big jacket, bring the hat, bring the gloves. It'll be a little on the cold side. Let's take a look at your torch rally forecast for you down at Nathan Phillips Square, where temperatures expected to be right around -8, with the wind chill feeling closer to -10. You can see that the winds, they should be fairly light, but all the festivities again going on at Nathan Phillips Square at 7 o'clock. Let's talk about what
flame continues to make its way through Toronto right now. Let's go live now to Pam Cedal with special children who are going to get an unforgettable visit from that torch. Pam.
Well, Morella, many of the patients here at the hospital for sick children are not able to go out and cheer the torch on, so the torch is coming to them. It's expected in about an hour. 200 to 250 patients and their families here are going to be gathering along the blue carpet here to watch it go by. And it's a very exciting event to watch, but for those Canadians chosen to carry the flame on its path to Vancouver, it's also an unforgettable experience. To be chosen to carry the Olympic torch, to pass the Olympic flame on from one torchbearer to another, and see crowds of supporters on the sidelines loudly expressing their Olympic spirit. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience for 12,000 lucky Canadians. Many are decorated Olympians themselves, including Brian Orser, a silver medalist in figure skating who carried the Canadian flag during the Olympics in Calgary. This, he says, was almost as exciting.
To carry the flag first, that was 22 years ago, and now to carry the flame, doesn't get much better.
An unbelievable career for Marnie McBean, and we are
three-time Olympic gold medal rower Marnie McBean also had the honor today. She compared the experience to actually participating in the Olympics.
There's no stress involved in this torch run for me. Like, the Olympics were always really, really stressful. So this is a lot about play and celebration, and I know I get to do all the work, but it's kind of thank you too. Excited.
There are numerous celebrities who are proudly carrying the torch here in Toronto today. Astronaut Roberta Bondar, filmmaker Deepa Mehta, Karen Kane, to name only a few. But then there are also dozens of so-called ordinary Canadians who really aren't very ordinary at all. One of them is 87-year-old David Grant, a World War II vet and a lifetime volunteer for numerous organizations.
One of the great moments in my life. This is when I was in the Air Force.
We spoke to him at his home as he reminisced, and he talked about his love for his country.
It's a great honor to carry the Olympic torch. And as I said, when I sent in my application to the Royal Bank, I've been carrying the torch for Canada all my life. I look on the song, "O Canada," as a patriotic torch song, a song of love. I love Canada.
David Grant handed the torch to John Craig. He and his identical twin brother Paul qualified for the 1,500-meter run in 1980, but boycotted the games.
We didn't go in 80 because the games were boycotted because of Afghanistan. So 29 years later, this is our chance to make it real.
This is fabulous. It's just amazing to be here with my brother is awesome.
Here at Sick Kids Hospital, the crowds are beginning to gather. Now, how this all came about is that Stephanie Bélanger is a social worker here in the psychiatric department. She is also a torch bearer, so she is going to be carrying the torch along the blue carpet here and greeting many of her patients as she does so. So everyone is very excited here. Once again, it's set to arrive in about 1 hour. Live at Sick Kids, I'm Pam Cedal. Now back to the newsroom.
Traffic holdups this afternoon here and there because of the traveling torch, but who's complaining? The Olympic torch entered Toronto at Yonge and Steeles. Then it headed out to the Scarborough Civic Centre, where it attracted a throng of chilly but happy people.
It's actually a once-in-a-lifetime chance that you actually get to see the torch in your country.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of
cool.
Exciting and neat. Yeah.
So what do you think about the torch?
It's pretty cool, yeah.
So you're going to see it. So what do you think it represents? What does it represent about the Olympics?
Just that it's the flame of the sun, you know? 1,800 years back.
That's pretty neat that it's that flame from 1,800 years.
Yeah.
So why did you come out today?
To see some Canadian spirit. This is like an awesome chance to finally see the Olympic torch here in Canada.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm here.
What do you think the torch represents?
Us. It's us. It's our spirit. It's what we believe in, and, you know, burn strong Canadian pride.
We are continuing to track the progress of the torch through Toronto, and World 2 on City News at 6.